Hello, hello. It's Marcus with the Wesleyville Borough out here. And in this video, I wanted to take a little bit of time to vent about our terrible roads. We've got a handful of them, and I kind of want to jump around between each of them and talk to you a little bit about those roads. I would be remiss if I didn't start on Euclid. Euclid is, I would say, the one we get the most complaints about. It is arguably our worst. It is a concrete surface, it's wide, it's very long, and it's just bad the whole way. So that's the reality of it. We got a car coming through, so I mean, we'll just wave them on, who cares? But I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Euclid to begin, but actually it's so bad and there's so much going on with Euclid that we kind of need its own video. So yeah, ignore the car. You know, hey, we're rough around here, but that's fine. It deserves its own video, so I'm gonna stop here now, and then we will shoot on down to the next road. See you there. All right, and now we are here on Fremont Street, which I would say is the second most complained about street that we have heard. And this is also a problem street because it is concrete, it is relatively long and relatively wide. The only reason it's not as big and as complex of a project as Euclid is because it's not as long and it's not as wide as Euclid, but it is similarly concrete and it has similar problems. And now let me just take a moment and explain the problem with concrete. When it starts to go, you don't have the opportunity to mill and resurface like you do on a traditional, or I guess you could say on an asphalt road. Instead, when the concrete starts to go like this, there is no replacing or fixing or repairing this concrete. Once it cracks to this degree, the only solution that you have is to rip up the whole thing. So there might be 6 inches of concrete here. So imagine coming in here, you have to beat all this concrete, then you have to load it all up into dump trucks, you have to haul it away, and then you have no road. So you need to rebuild your road completely from scratch, which is 8, 10 inches of asphalt. So it's very expensive. And just think, now that you understand that process, think of how many dump trucks it would take just to get rid of what is here. And then think of how many dump trucks of asphalt it takes to rebuild the road. It takes a lot. And just to give you an idea of pricing, let me point here down to Center Street. We did do Center Street, a full reconstruction last year. And in that, as I said, that's about 8 inches of asphalt that we had to completely rebuild from scratch. We were able to get that grant funded, and it cost us like $320,000. $320,000 for a road that is relatively narrow and relatively short. That's how much it cost. So that's the issues that we're facing. Now let me tell you about this patch here. The worst area, arguably, I would say, on Fremont here, the Fremont Dip. We were able to do a patch just a couple weeks ago here. That single patch, which was 16 feet wide by 64 feet. All right, we got a car coming through. Come on through, come on through. You know, this one patch, 16 feet by 64 foot, $18,000. $18,000. So across the whole stretch, now this isn't an engineer's estimate, but we're talking $700,000 as a project, okay? And when you think about redoing roads, reconstructing, it's not just the road surface that you have to redo, but legally we are required to bring into compliance our sidewalks here. So this is not ADA compliant. It doesn't have the bumper pad, it's not the proper slope, all that. So we need to get it to be like these ones over here for Center Street. And each of those, that one corner right there costs $5,000. $5,000 for that one corner. So when you start to consider along this stretch of Fremont here, we have many of these corners that are in no good shape. So you're talking probably $40,000, $50,000 just in the sidewalks. Now let's take a walk here on this other section of Center Street. We know it is no good. We know that. But the problem is this is an asphalt street, so it's a little bit different than concrete. You can walk with me here. The problem with this, though, is if we would mill this up, because traditionally you mill and resurface, if you milled 3 inches of this, there's literally nothing left. There is no road under here. So in order to really do this, we would have to dig up like 8 inches or more, lay down gravel, lay down new asphalt on top. It's a big project. And just this one tiny stretch here, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but it's more expensive than you'd think just to do this tiny stretch of Center Street. So yeah, The next one I wanted to speak about is Edison down here. Edison obviously leads into our park. We do find it to be a very important street, but it is in bad shape across the entire length of the road. And again, you have a problem where there's no base underneath. Since there's no base underneath, we have to rebuild the whole thing pretty much. And it's a lot more expensive and extensive of a project than it might originally seem. So if you notice it's in bad shape, we know too. It's just very expensive. And again, you have the problem where you have intersections all along Edison that are not ADA compliant. So just in order to do this 3 blocks of Edison here, it's gonna be, I think we calculated like $40,000 or $50,000 again, just in the ADA ramps, which we are legally required to do. If we're gonna be repaving a road, we legally must do the ADA ramps. We must bring it up to ADA compliance. So right here, I was on Fremont, I'm on Center, and here we have Edison. All 3 of those are bad roads, and they're all gonna be very expensive to fix. And then let's go to the next one, because it's not over here. All right, and now we are down here on South Street, in particular between Station Road and Market. And yes, we know these 2 blocks are quite bad. It's especially noticeable because we did have Center Street come through, so this part looks really nice, and then that part looks real junky. The reality is, we have the same problem again, where there's just no base underneath. And since there's no base underneath, if you wanted to come on this way, Joe. Since there's no base underneath of this road, if we would mill it up, you have to completely rebuild it from scratch. And right now, it's just not in our budget. As I'm showing you many of these other roads, even though it's narrow and not super long, it still would be too much money for us. I mean, easily into the 100 or plus thousand. So what we're planning on doing with this road right now is we will actually be seal coating this in a couple weeks. And I know you all will probably, I'll do a separate video on seal coating because that is a legitimate process, and it is a tool in our toolkit in order to keep our roads good, the good roads good. In particular, this is not a good road, but we have to keep it from getting worse because we want to do this road, and we likely will within the next couple years, but every single year it's going to get worse. And if we have another winter like the one we just had, we're going to have a whole bunch of this road just blown out, and you just can't have that. And also, any amount of base that is here, I mean, I doubt that there's much good base at all, but any amount of base that is here, if we allow the water to penetrate down into, and then to freeze and thaw and to do all that, any amount of good base that was here will be gone. And that will make the project even more expensive down the line. So that's why in a couple weeks we will be seal coating this road, South Street, and you might scratch your head and think, what the heck are they doing? But it's all a part of the plan here, because seal coating this is going to cost a couple thousand. Completely replacing it is going to be 100 and something or more. So just to give you a little bit of perspective there. Now let's shoot on to the next road because we're not done here. All right, and we are on the last street that we're going to look at today here in this video. We are down here on North Street, in particular between Wesley and Center over there. This is a very rough block, as many of you may know, down here on North Street. And just wanted to call your attention to something. Notice how the lines are, all the cracks are pretty much uniform lengths and everything. The reasoning why is because underneath it here, there's concrete. And we've already talked earlier in this video with Euclid and Fremont about just how much of a pain concrete streets are. But there's concrete street underneath of this, and then at some point or another we put asphalt on top of it. The problem is when you do that, it's really not a long-term solution because you end up having these reflective cracks, they're called. So you have the concrete down below that has a crack in it, a joint, and then when you put asphalt on top, that crack reflects up through to the surface of the asphalt. So you see all of that here where it's been completely messed up. So this tells us that putting asphalt over concrete just as is really not a great solution. Now you'll notice one block down here between Eastern and Wesley, right there by the American Legion, right there by Memorial Park, we did do asphalt over top of concrete there. It was asphalt over concrete. We milled it and we put more asphalt on top. We are trying something. We are going to do something over there where we lined up where all the joints are, and they're going to be coming through and they're going to saw cut at the joints in the asphalt. And our concept there is if we match where the concrete joints are with asphalt joints and then we put tar in it, it should allow the asphalt to float a little bit, and instead of cracking, it will remain a good surface. So that's what we're trying down there on that block. This block, unfortunately, we weren't able to do anything on it this year. So what our solution is we are going to be tar and chipping this, because once again, any amount of good asphalt that's here, we need to keep good. So if we can put a layer of that tar down, that's going to really seal it, and then the chips that are going to give it a nice, tough surface, that will help to preserve the life of this road just long enough for us to be able to do a more long-term solution. And really, if this down here, if that block behind me works, if it works with the saw cutting, then we would like to come through here, we'll mill this, we'll do asphalt on top, we'll saw cut it, we'll copy that process. So right now we're going to be seal coating it. That'll buy us a couple years, and we're going to watch how that one reacts, and if we like how that goes, then we're going to do the same process here. So that concludes our look at all of our terrible roads. I guess I shouldn't say all. There are certainly other roads that you might notice that we maybe didn't talk about today, or certain sections of a road that's in pretty bad shape. We're aware of all this. We're keeping an eye on things. We're trying our best to have a long-term strategic approach. Hopefully, this video has given you a little bit of insight into how tough it is to maintain roads, and how concrete roads are a problem, and then asphalt, if it doesn't have a base, is a problem, and then asphalt over concrete's a problem, and you have so many different variables involved in roads. And then something like the ADA ramps. Again, if we were to do this road completely, you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars just in the sidewalk. You're legally required to do that, and that doesn't even factor in anything with the street, the road surface, anything. If we're updating this, we have to bring into compliance the ADA. So all of these factors make a good transportation system really, really difficult to achieve. So please bear with us, and please help out as best as you can. You know, be patient with us, and we're going to try to have a strategic long-term approach, and we will get there. So thank you very much, and that is all for today. So let us know what your thoughts are in the comments. If you want some more information, if you want to see some things written out, you can go to wesleyville.gov/transportation. Again, that's wesleyville.gov/transportation. Thank you.